At 2 p.m. the French divisions of Foy and Bachelu commenced their attack upon Quatre Bras, supported by General Pierre's light cavalry brigade on their right. The red brick farmstead of Gemincourt was quickly taken, the companies of the Dutch 27th Jaeger in the vicinity rapidly falling back on their supports. Foy's and Bachelu's infantry pushed on as Pierre's cavalry made a wide sweeping move to the right. General Paponcha's Dutch, Belgian and Nassau battalions were soon fighting spiritedly, in delaying the French advance toward Quatre Bras. The 5th Dutch militia, holding the farm of La Bergerie and its enclosures, threw back the first assault upon their position by Foy's leading battalions, while the fire of Stevenart's Belgian foot battery nearby staggered and broke up another, although this battery was soon overrun. By 3:45 p.m, Picton's division was on the field and advancing upon the French battalions of Bachelu, the French infantry already closing fast in their advance upon the Ligny-Nivelle road. The Duke of Wellington joined Picton and, observing this, agreed that Bachelu's division must be driven back from the vital road. The British battalions charged forward. The Black Watch, nearest Quatre Bras farm, drove back the French from the hedged and banked section of the road, routing the battalion deployed there, and chased after it into the supporting French battalion coming up, driving that one back too. However, the 79th Highlanders and 28th of Foot were checked in their advance by a withering fire from the French infantry confronting them and were forced to retire. Unsupported and with all cohesion lost, the Black Watch were then cornered and shot to ruin. With 3 of his battalions all too quickly lost to combat, Picton, with Colonel Vink's 4 Landwehr battalions now on the field and up in support, was determined to advance again and drive the French from the road. Then, Pierre's cavalry appeared from behind Sens Wood, that anchored Picton's left, and Picton only just got Vink's 4 battalions into square before they were overrun. To the west of the crossroads, the Brunswick contingent were now on the field and deploying in support of the Dutch Belgians and Nassauers, who were by now close to collapse. The 5th Militia had been driven from La Bergerie, the 2nd Dutch Militia routed, and those battalions of Paponcha's division in Bosu Wood were being driven back with severe losses by Jerome's division. This French division had joined the action at around 4 p.m. and been directed to drive the enemy from the wood by Marshal Ney. The Dutch-Belgian light cavalry brigades of Merlin and de Guiney were sent forward to aid their infantry and were at first successful. The 5th Belgian Light Dragoons broke up and destroyed a French battalion in square, and the 8th Belgian Hussars caught a French battalion in line as it advanced up the road from La Bergerie. Into this murderous fray charged Kellerman's Cuirassiers. Supported by the Lancers of the Guard, they crashed into the 5th Belgian Light Dragoons and 6th Dutch Hussars and routed both. The exultant 8th Cuirassier then charged on to engage the Brunswick Uhlans, routing them from the field in quick succession. The French battalions in front of Picton were maintaining their disciplined, rolling, and most telling volleys. Supported by Roger's foot battery, the 92nd Highlanders and 32nd of Foot were ordered forward by Picton in another attempt to shift the French off the road, but were shot to ruin by the fierce French musketry, and heavily blooded, could do no more. The 44th of Foot made a final attempt as the afternoon became evening, but Bachelu's battalions remained resolute in their position upon the road. Sens Wood was also taken by Bachelu's infantry at this time after a dogged defence by the companies of the 95th Rifles. By 6 p.m. the French were pushing up close to the Quatre Bras farm and the crossroads. Picton was forced to pull back the remains of his division. Vink's Landwehr, now somewhat jittery despite holding off Pierre's cavalry, slowly retired in their square formations, the 1st Royal Scots, also in square, defiantly covering the retreat. The fighting alongside and within Bosu Wood had grown just as intense as it had before Picton. The Brunswickers made some good progress, pushing Jerome's battalions back some way and regaining half the wood. Kellerman's Cuirassiers were targeted by the Brunswick horse and foot batteries, and with mounting losses were forced to withdraw. French batteries, including 12-pounders, on higher ground to the west of Gemincourt farm were equally well handled, and they soon silenced many of the Brunswick cannon thereafter, as well as causing growing losses on the Brunswick infantry. A renewed all-out assault by Jerome's infantry drove the Brunswickers back, the avant-garde battalion and a line battalion rooting through the trees as the French pushed on. The Brunswickers then rallied as the British Brigade of General Hawkett and the British Guards Division of General Cook finally arrived and joined the battle. The Guards immediately advanced to recapture the wood, while Hawkett's 4 battalions formed line behind the still pugnacious Brunswickers. At the crossroads, the Prince of Orange, seeing Bachelu's infantry pushing forward from up the road to Namur, their bloody work against Picton done, ordered the 6th Belgian Hussars to charge down the road and drive them back. At the same time, the Brunswick Black Hussars charged the leading battalion of Foy's division as it to approach the crossroads from the south. The Belgian Hussars drove deep into the ranks of the leading French battalion column. Hacking away with their swords to left and right, they destroyed it, but they were so densely packed between the hedgerows either side of the road that they themselves were broken up and forced to retreat by the tightly packed ranks of the French battalions behind the unfortunate first. The French, charged by the Brunswick Hussars, managed to form a hasty rally square, and the Hussars were driven off. The French Guard Lancers then charged the Hussars as they recoiled from the square and drove them off the field. With shouts of Vive l'Empereur, the infantry of Foy and Bachelu then flooded through the crossroads and its farm, to contest the open ground beyond with the Hanoverians of General Kielmansegge's brigade, the latter much too late to recover the crossroads as the light was beginning to fail. Wellington, with his centre pierced, would now be hard put to rectify the situation.
We've just reached the conclusion of Quatre Bras at New Buckenham Historical Wargamers, and Will, who was umpired valiantly amid the action, has called it as a French victory points-wise, and as we scan a cross, you will clearly see why. The Crossroads and Quatre Bras farm is held. Some of Kielmansegge's battalions are trying to contest the French pushing forward from said crossroads. They're also in various other built-up areas of the village. On the right, Kellerman's cavalry were roughly in the centre ground, as you can see there. Now, they did a sterling job, but did get broken with their losses, but after causing a lot of problems for the Allies. As you can see, Jerome is contesting the Bosu Wood with the Guards division and the Brunswickers. On this occasion, the Duke of Brunswick is still alive and mounted. You can see some of the foot guards going through the woods, and Halkett's redcoats are standing by in reserve, but unfortunately it's all a little too late. As we pan round to the west, looking east, you can see that the French have done what they needed to do. They've gained the crossroads after a very heavy combat. The Red Lancers have been withdrawn because Napoleon was hoping that they wouldn't use them. In fact, they did a very good job. They defeated a number of the Allied cavalry units, and with the losses as you see behind them, they decided to bring them back into reserve. And so Marshal Ney, surrounded by some of his fellow generals, including the Corps Commander Riel, either side of the little brook there, is on this occasion the victor, and Napoleon might be a bit happier with the news he receives as opposed to the historical outcome. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.